I'm actually very excited to announce this next keynote. Our next speaker, he's a very, very remarkable man. He, in 1980, launched CNN, the world's first live 24-hour news network. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ted Turner. To interview him, we have Mark Goldberg, the editor of UN Dispatch, Don's Digest, and he was actually elected the top 100 Twitterati by Forbes Foreign Policy magazine. So, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Turner, for being here.
Call me Ted.
Ted, that was the name of your book, was it not? This is particularly exciting for me because I am the Captain Planet generation. I believe if you were born between, say, 1978 and 1986, you are the Captain Planet generation, no matter where you are in the world.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because I was born in 1938, and I came up with the idea.
So how did you come up with the idea?
Well, I was in the television business, and when I bought the station, it was running a lot of children's programs like the Flintstones and the Jetsons and Yogi Bear and Scooby-Doo. But I looked at all the television programs, and there were no environmental television programs for children. And I thought, boy, the environment was becoming a really important issue, and it was the time you're talking about now, fast forward 30 years. And there still was no children's animated program. So we started, I and a woman named Barbara Pyle, who's here, started working on the outline for a program, and then we liked what we saw. We kept working on it. It was kids from all over the world working together to save the environment, and so we went forward with it.
And it still is on TV to this day, is my understanding. What would its prime time was in the 90s, or at least that's when I was really clued into it.
What would always make a comeback?
Yeah, and so what would a 21st century Captain Planet message be?
Be the same as the 20th centuries, but that the power is yours, and by your powers combined, that young people working together can save the environment and save the human race. And that message is just as true today as it was 1,000 years ago.
One of the interesting, and I apologize if I'm focusing on Captain Planet, but this is a formative program for me. One of the interesting aspects of it was the gender equality that you saw. Boys and girls were equal, if not that the woman was even more equal than the men. How would you agree?
We deliberately made the boy Wheeler from New York kind of a little bit of a buffoon. He was not as smart as Kwame from Africa, our young black teenager, or Mate from Brazil and the Amazon.
I wanted to, so this is a global conversation we're having, and people from around the world are following on Twitter and on various social media outlets. And we have a question for you from a Twitter user in Vancouver who wants to know, how can we maintain media attention on sustainability issues after they have lost initial popularity?
Well, first of all, we've got to keep them from losing initial popularity, because if we lose popularity, we lose. We have to keep the issues in front of people, and we have to do it by working towards doing that. Perhaps some demonstrations will be in order, peaceful demonstrations, and always writing letters and to television networks telling them how important it is to cover these subjects, and just don't let it slip from the global consciousness.
And to that end, we had...
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. And what message do you have for youth out there who are doing what you say, who are trying to not let it slip from the global consciousness?
Go planet.
Go planet. Excellent.
By your powers combined.
A second question we had is from a user named Rishi _, who's from Cape Town, South Africa. And she wants to know, what's it going to take to ensure women and young people's rights are central to sustainable development?
Well, one of the most important things we need to do, half the women in the world, approximately, right now, do not have totally equal rights with men. That needs to be corrected as quickly as we humanly possibly can, because so much potential brain power is being wasted by girls and young women who have not gotten a fair education and don't have the same sort of opportunities as men. That's one of the most important things that we can do to straighten this world out.
And sort of across town from where we are sitting right now is the big conference at the Rio+Social. And there have been some questions over how much that the heads of state can achieve this week in Rio. I wanted to ask you, is the UN still relevant, and how and why?
Absolutely, the UN is relevant, more so today than ever before, because we have greater problems than we ever had before, and more complex problems, and we need a body that can study these, where we can study these issues together and come to compromises and work out solutions together, because the problems are too big for one nation or one people to handle. It's going to take all of us pulling together.
And is there any perhaps one problem that keeps you up at night?
Well, the thing, there are a number. The environment, of course, is extremely important. Getting a sustainable population program where we don't overpopulate the world, which we already have done, but we don't have to make it any worse than it already is. And of course, my number one issue, because it can end the world in an afternoon, is to get rid of nuclear weapons before something goes wrong.
So you're saying that's, of all the issues, that's your number one?
Yeah, because if the Russian and the American nuclear arsenals, which are on hair trigger alert, and still basically staffed at Cold War levels with thousands of weapons, nuclear weapons pointed at each other, if those get launched somehow, either by a madman or by an earthquake or something goes wrong and the wires get crossed, it'll destroy humanity in an afternoon. At least with global climate change and our environmental problems, we've got 20 years.
20, you're saying
20
we have
years
20
is better than 20 minutes.
Okay. So you think we're on a 20-year timer?
On the environment, maybe even less in certain areas. If you live in the Maldives Islands, your islands are already going underwater.
Maybe this is a good way to ask you about the idea of sustainable development, which...
If you're a polar bear, there's no ice for you to crawl out on.
20 years ago, the first Rio conference brought the idea of sustainable development into everyday speaking.
I was here.
Where do you think we'll be in 20 years? Or how will, I should ask you maybe this, how will the concept of sustainable development change in 20 years?
Well, I hope it continues to gain importance at a very rapid rate, and that we make the necessary changes to save our environment, because if we destroy our environment, we destroy ourselves.
I want to ask you about philanthropy, which has an important role to play in this whole dialogue that we're having today. You famously gave $1 billion to support the UN through the UN Foundation. Why was that an important investment for you?
Gave away another $500 million too to different environmental causes, primarily. What good's your money if you're dead?
Why don't you think more people are as philanthropic as you? That's a good question. Good answer.
if the nuclear weapons go off, your money won't be worth a peso.
So how do you see the philanthropy as increasing, as decreasing?
It's unquestionably increasing.
Now, even in the midst of this global economic crisis that we seem to be experiencing, or that some people seem to be experiencing.
Well, the circles I travel in, the people are giving more money away.
And I guess, why do you think that is? And
They're realizing that money can't buy happiness, and that by using it to deal with the real important problems that we have, they're accomplishing more than if they just spent it on a big yacht for themselves.
okay, rather support the environment than purchasing an environment-polluting yacht, I suppose. I wanted to again ask you, so as we're speaking, world leaders are meeting in Mexico for the G20. The global economic crisis is the backdrop of pretty much everything happening now. How can citizens convince their governments to maintain a focus on development, on environmental issues, while we're facing this economic crisis as well?
And on global equity, there's still too many poor, and not enough. It's not as much philanthropy as there should be. The only way to keep in front of people is keep talking about it. That's why we're having this meeting here. That's why I'm here.
And can I ask you about the role of the private sector in all this? And as a restaurateur, as the owner of Ted's Montana Grill, you've embedded sustainable development into your business plan.
Sure.
Has that come at the expense of profit, or has that complemented profit?
No, we feel like it's increased our profits.
Okay. And what made you want to take that vision to the restaurant industry?
Well, we've supported the Restaurant Association and greening up the restaurant business, which has done a tremendous job of increasing its commitment to green procedures.
I wanted to maybe wrap up by asking you again another question about media, about, as the founder of CNN, do you think that cable network and cable news has changed the world at all?
Well, anytime you get information, it changes things, to some degree. So yes, I definitely think it's changed the world. It's brought more information into more places than ever was available before.
Great. Maybe one last question on Captain Planet. So looking forward, we may see sometime in the future sort of new ideas of sustainable development, new Captain Planet for the 21st century. What, particularly to young people today, what message would you have about sort of what that concept should be? How would you create a Captain Planet for the 21st century?
By your powers combined.
I am Captain Planet. Thank you so much, sir.